putting this together. Make sure it goes to the appropriate people.
There might be someone here from that organization.
Is there someone from the Moms Helping Moms Foundation is the sponsoring agency?
Okay. Someone mentioned it, they get here, but I'll hold on to it.
Okay. Yeah, this is the second year for this, and they estimate that 48% of families delay changing diapers to extend their supply. That's half, and most of us here, went through. I remember with my first daughter, we had 80 a week. Figured that was enough. And by the third day, we were calling the diaper company to bring another supply. So it's not something that you appreciate the need for unless you have someone in that situation. So Kevin, would you make sure that
Sure.
gets to the appropriate organization?
Great, thank you.
All right, we have committee reports, so we'll start to my far left, Councilman Mitchell.
Okay. First of all, Borough Hall is reopened to the public. The outdoor ramps will remain in place for now, just in case. The 17th annual weekend journey through the past is coming up October 8th and 9th. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday and noon to 4 p.m. Sunday. Borough Hall, the Fire Museum, the Wallace House, and Old Dutch Parsonage will all be offering tours. Also this year there will be a replica of George Washington's Revolutionary War tent on the courthouse green. There will be a diversity festival downtown, October 16th, presented by Somerset County. Haunted History is bringing back the Ghost Walk on October 23rd, and also Stories, Myths, and Legends on October 29th. And there will be a Native American Heritage Celebration on Division Street from noon to 3 p.m. Saturday, November 5th, with a rain date of November 6th. That's all.
Kevin, I believe that Mr. Willett would like a proclamation to that effect for Native Americans. I believe we did.
I sent you had sent me an email in reference. We're taking care of that. It'll be the second meeting of October.
Excellent.
Is that going to be on Division Street or?
Yes,
Yes.
it is on Division Street.
Yes. All right. Mr. Crowe.
I have no report this evening.
Dr. Brady.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. We are beginning our 2023 budget cycle. This coming year, the emphasis will be to maintain our financial position with no expected expansion. The goal is to continue stabilizing our revenue, our local taxes by using grant funds and pilot revenue to supplement the revenue that we get from the local taxpayers. Our history of collections has been very positive. We collect about 98% of our taxes. And as we anticipate the 2023 budget, the primary concern will be the insane increase in health care insurance as proposed by the Governor's Commission on Health Benefits. As of this report, we subsidize about 70% of the cost of local taxes, with the employee contributing about 30%. The state health benefit increase of 20% will have a significant impact on both local and school taxes, and we'll keep you updated on this important issue. On a high note, 2 meetings are planned with the Jersey American Water regarding the upcoming referendum to sell the borough's sewer assets to the water company. One meeting will be held tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at Lincoln Hose, and another on Thursday, September 29th at 7 p.m. at the American Legion on Union Avenue. All are invited. If the referendum is approved, the borough would be paid $7 million, and that would help retire our debt. In addition, we would see over $9.5 million invested in the aging, and pretty much is summed up to what the borough would have to do if the referendum does not pass, and that would be to raise sewer fees considerably. So that $9.5 million is a considerable amount of money to rehabilitate our sewer system. The Finance Committee is looking at both scenarios, but with your support and passing the referendum, I think we'll all enjoy a better system to treat waste in the future. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Kevin, both those meetings are on the borough website.
Correct.
Thank you.
Will they be shown through our YouTube channel too? Or?
No. we won't do it tomorrow. If there's an opportunity to do it with the American Legion, there's a possibility to do that.
All right, Councilwoman Robert.
Regarding the environmental commission, tomorrow they postponed their meeting from last week to this week. They have their certified tree expert coming. We'll be doing a walk through the park greenway, meeting at SHIP at 6 p.m. So the public is welcome to join us. This is a requirement for our status with the state tree forestry program and act. Also, I want to publicly thank one of our residents of Somerville, Catherine Hughes, for developing a tree plan for the planting of 40 trees at Left Park. Catherine was able to delineate appropriate species for the park and a plan because the New Jersey Tree Foundation, through a grant with MetLife, is bringing us 40 trees to plant later this fall. The last thing on behalf of the Environmental Commission I'd like to share is that regarding leaf pickup, the commission members do support leaf composting. So there is some mention of that on our website and simple Google, but mulch your leaves, compost your leaves in your yard when possible, and that will eliminate what we have to pick up at the curb. Thank you.
Councilman Lee.
I have nothing to report today.
Okay. Council President.
Thank you, Your Honor. In downtown news, the Downtown Somerville Alliance announces their Hometown Hero Banner Program. The program is designed to pay tribute to all servicemen and women from Somerville and Branchburg who have served in any branch of the military. Each banner will honor a specific individual and include their name, picture, branch of service, and era of service. The banner will be on display during the month of November in honor of Veterans Day for 2 consecutive years. The banners will be made of high-quality, durable vinyl designed to withstand the elements. To dedicate a banner to a loved one and participate in the program, you can visit the DSA's website or our Borough website. Financial consideration will be given to those qualifying veterans' families who cannot afford the cost of the banner.
And I would assume at the end of the 2 years, the banner will go to the family. That question came up the other day, and I just assumed that would be the case. Hopefully they'll be in decent shape, or at least interior display after 2 years. All right. The only thing I have is some good news. I attended a Somerset County Commissioners meeting several weeks ago. As you know, we pay open space tax to the County of Somerset. And when the open space program first started, the money was dedicated to purchasing vacant land to be used for parkland and passive recreation. Somerville and other towns were at a disadvantage because most of our land is not vacant and wasn't for sale. We were, in fact, just subsidizing other towns that were having, parks developed with county funds. Several years ago, the commissioners decided to put a public question to allow part of that money to go for recreational programs to supplement existing parks and playgrounds. So I'm very happy to say that last week, Kevin and I, Jason Kraska, and Commissioners Morano and Drake met at Left Park, and I was presented a check for $375,000 for hopefully the complete rehabilitation of not only the Left Park pool, the bathroom facility, the shelter, the fencing. The intent, if all goes well, to bid this project and have that pool open, if not by Memorial Day next year, certainly by the first day of summer. This was the worst summer to have a pool closed, and it's our intent to move quickly on this. Kevin, I know we thanked the commissioners, last week, and you could draft a letter, with my signature, thanking not only the commissioners but the taxpayers of Somerset County. Grant money is not free money; it comes from somewhere, and in this case, I consider it a return on the open space money that we have sent to Somerset County for probably 15 years. So this will rehabilitate Left Park. It's our intention to apply again next year for Walnut Street Park, so that both of our tot pools, which a lot of us have fond memories of, can be, completely rebuilt and most importantly, safe for our kids. Kevin, you take this, I guess, back to Borough Hall and display it in a prominent place, and look forward to cutting that ribbon next June sometime.
Great.
And thank you and your staff, and anyone who worked on that application. You have to be in it to win it. I know a lot of work goes on behind the scenes to get the result. Very competitive. A lot of time was put into it, but the money will be well spent, and our youth will benefit. And that's a big reason why we're all up here. And that's all I have tonight. I have one appointment to make to the planning board with Ken Utter's resignation several months ago. His alternate position was vacant, so I'm appointing Lisa Warner to the planning board in the alternate position for the remainder of that term, which is 12/31/23. We have two items for discussion. Kevin, can we flip-flop them so we have our invited guests to go first? Is that a problem?
That's yours.
Yeah. All right, so I'd like to bring up representatives for our Somerville Civic Center. As the public probably knows, as part of the Avalon Bay construction project south of the train, we were able to negotiate the creation of a 4,000 square foot public space that will be provided to us. We're basically getting the room built, and according to industry standards. The outfitting of the room, in terms of the final finishes, is our responsibility. We've got a subcommittee working on this for about a year. And Colin, if you would introduce your
Thank you, Mayor.
compatriot and go through, you have some very descriptive slides so that we can see what we'll be leaving when we leave this building in about a year and a half. Hopefully you'll see the new and improved Civic Center. We'll miss this place, but only for about 2 minutes. Colin.
Thank you. Well, I've got Tammy Starcher sitting beside me, who's the principal with SSP Architects. She's the lead on the design of this thing, and hiding back over here somewhere is Jude Safaro, who is also a designer. And I'm going to walk you through quickly where we are with the Somerville Civic Center. That's the best I could get as far as an external illustration right now. But just so everyone is aware of where this is going to be, South Bridge Street is there. This is the railway tracks. That's Memorial Drive is up there. So this is Robeson Street, which is the main entrance into both the Avalon Bay Apartments and the Pulte Townhomes. The northern apartment building contains a parking deck, which is shared between the apartments and the people that travel on the train. There is a public plaza located there, and that red box is the location of the new Somerville Civic Center. So it sits in the heart of the new development. It's close to parking. Phase 2, which will be, for a short period of time, surface parking, but there are other plans for that as well. This is Station Road, which will probably be completed in the second quarter of next year. We'll link Route 206 to what we call the hub area of this development. So this is an architect's representation of what the external view will look like. This is the location of the council chambers immediately adjacent to access to the platforms and Division Street. So the train, this is where the stairs have always been in the station, where you go down to the platforms, you'll go across and under the stairs, come out on Betts and up Division Street. That's all being rebuilt, and this facility will be right next door to that. So just to give you an idea of how it sits within the apartment complex. This is Robeson Street, this is the public plaza, this is the leasing office for the apartments, here is the parking deck. Access to the station and to this area out of this deck is to the north. It's through here, and there is a pedestrian walkway all the way down. These are the stairs and the access to both the platforms and to Division Street. And this is how you will enter into that. It'll be surrounded by a facade which is similar to what the facade on the Civic Centre will be. Down here it's proposed there will be some form of food service establishment, a cafe or a small restaurant, something of 2,000 square feet or something like that. There'll be also, of course, parking along Robeson Street. So this is the building, and the key thing to remember here is when we were negotiating with the developer, they donated this space, 4,000 square feet, to the borough. And what has happened is they donated it, will be, have electric and heating and so on. But it's a plain vanilla building. You get builder's quality floor tiles, you get builder's quality ceiling tiles, you get, well, I guess you'd call it paint, but whatever they put on the walls. And it really, we felt that we needed to make it a space that suits the borough more than just being a plain vacant sort of space that we put some chairs in. So this is a rendering put together by SSP Architects of what the space will look like. You walk in here, there's a vestibule, a foyer, what's that, a unisex? Unisex bathroom, male.
And family toilet room as well.
Yeah. Male and female. Now when you go through these doors, a couple of things happen. This is a walkway that drops down, I believe, about 6 inches to this floor level. This well is where everyone sitting here tonight will ultimately be ending up sitting in the new room. This takes you up to the dais. Also, it provides access. There is a conference room in there. This is what they call the mechanical room. That's where the air conditioning and stuff is. This dais, it's got a lot of chairs at it. It's designed to take all the borough boards. Planning board has 13 members. Council has 6 members plus the mayor. So it's flexible. This is a pretty typical sort of layout for a council room, if you've seen it, or a planning board room where Kevin would sit there, or the secretary of the planning board, or the secretary of the board of adjustment. People making presentations would sit there, and borough or other professionals would sit there. There will be a video monitor on the face of the dais, so that people making presentations, unlike me who is looking at a projection on the screen, can see it on a television monitor. And above here, while it's not shown, there'll be monitors for the audience and the governing body or the boards to see what is being presented as well. So there'll be no projection TV in there. It'll either be wireless or it'll be hardwired in. So we're really moving towards bringing it into the 2020s. Now, conference room finishes. We're just going to show you very quickly. We're talking about this room now, so the wall paint will be a beige. You've got carpeting such as that, and I guess that is what?
That's the wall base.
That's the wall base. I didn't want to put my foot in my mouth for that one. This is the entrance to the bathrooms and the unisex room, which are essentially all tile. The colors you'll see, well, it's hard to see here, but the colors flow from here through there, and there's no drastic, oh my God, I've gone somewhere else. The vestibule, you see, is somewhat similar to what's going on in the restrooms. And hopefully here we go, the last one. This is the work areas. So we've got vinyl flooring, neutral paint, kickboards and countertops and things like that, because there'll be a kitchen in here too. We got there. And that's the big room. That's the council chambers or the board chambers. You've got a carpet which sort of mimics the colours somewhat in the floor finishes in there, and in there you've got a wall finish which isn't quite as vanilla as you find coming in, but accents it. I can't read that. Is that?
That's the wall covering that are on the angled walls and the wall behind the desk.
Okay.
So that's an accent.
Thank you. And then where's
Those
the?
are the desk finishes on the desk.
Okay.
The ceiling is seen whenever.
Okay, this, I mentioned this before when we were rehearsing, that's Kevin. But that's roughly what the room will look like if you were sitting at the dais, right? The entrance doors are there, TV monitors. You've got, one of the limiting factors is this thing is a huge, what they call stressed beam. It stretches from one side of our space to the other side, and it's a steel reinforced concrete beam, and above this space are apartments. So the reason we've lost some ceiling height, so we thought that having Kevin as a representation there would show the space. And this is from the front doors looking in, the seal, the monitor for the presenters and how that all would work. One other thing this doesn't show, there's been a lot of discussion, is how do the public or presenters make themselves heard? And here we've got wired microphones. We'll be using a wireless system so that whether there's a microphone stand or not, people who want to present to the council or to the audience will have no issue in doing so. And the systems are pretty sophisticated these days that allow. We're anticipating that the railing along there, where you see that person and the railing here going to the dais, will be opaque glass of some sort, so that it
Transparent.
huh?
Transparent.
Yeah, but
Okay, you can't see through.
that's, yeah. We'll talk about that. But it'll be glass, and it'll be accented to the walls and the carpet and the ceiling, etc. And really, that's about all we've got at this point, because we're not at the point of being able to specify to you what the audio-visual systems will be or what the security systems will be. We're working through that now. So unless anyone's got any questions, I'm done.
Colin, I'd like to ask Tammy, unlike every other public building that we have here, this is a building that's designed the right way. We know what we want to use it for, so we went back and we designed it for that purpose. We have a borough hall, which was designed as a home. We have a library that was designed as a dance hall. We had a police station that was designed as a brewery. We're going to have not just the council chambers, the civic center, which I envision being used at least 20, 25 times a month. Tammy, talk a little bit about how you design something, not really knowing how it's going to be used, but trying to incorporate, flexibility.
And thank you. That is definitely one of the keys, is the flexibility of the space. The dais is built in, but those 3 tables on the presenters that Colin did spend some time on are designed to be movable tables with the infrastructure going through the floor. So one of the keys that we really did have a lot of coordination here was making sure that we've got something that's flexible, that can accommodate today's AV and technology needs, but also accommodate what we don't know what's coming down the line in 3 or 4 years, so that we're not stuck in today's design and stuck in how we deliver and present in today's society. So actually, I think they're doing it now, Colin. They're putting a lot of the conduits through the floor just so there is the availability to run the wires that we need today so that you can present and have that high-tech room that you've made work with what you have right now. But we have the flexibility in this space to do even more when it comes. Oh yeah, the IT closet?
This is going to be the AV IT closet right there in that corner. It'll be on a somewhat elevated floor because New Jersey Transit has their major communication fiber optics running right through there, like that. And they can't be moved. So we're building on top of it. But the conduits are coming from here and they're going to there, to there, to there, to there. We're dropping wiring from the ceiling for the televisions. There'll be a conduit or two going to the dais. And one of the interesting things that only occurred, 2 weeks ago, it's always been the intention that the panel in front of the dais would have some sort of form of protection for whoever's sitting at the head table. And of course, everyone thinks of Kevlar. Can't get Kevlar right now. So Avalon Bay are in the process of pouring a 5-inch concrete podium that will form the front of the dais as protection for the people who sit behind it. And then everything else will be placed on top of it, behind it, or in front of it. So that it'll be as secure as current building standards allow. Hopefully it'll never need to be tested. And why we're running the conduits, as Tammy said, is we're trying to anticipate current needs and whatever the future holds. The conduits will be accessible. We're running, state-of-the-art Cat6 cables through it now, but maybe it'll be Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or some other form of system as the years move on. And we've provided the closet space, ample power, and we're working with AV consultants to give us the best equipment.
And Mayor Collins said accessible, which is one thing that this space will definitely have that we did spend a lot of time on. We're dropping the floor from the dais down to the civic area where the public will come in and sit is a 9-inch difference. And it's a total 1 foot difference from where you walk in at grade level. But that will be fully accessible with the ramps and the sloped walk. There's some stairs there, there's a ramp, there's handrail, but it is designed fully accessible. So you're welcome to invite any of the public in, which we don't have in all of the facilities in the borough right now.
Are the public chairs movable or fixed?
No, they'll be movable. No,
Yeah, we're
It's one of the initiatives or imperatives that we were given very early on, 2-3 years ago, was that space in here should be able to be cleared for a variety of things. An art show, maybe because we've got so many new residents, maybe Kevin wants to put a voting machine in there. So we've got to be able to move that stuff and put it, stack it somewhere where you've got a nice open space in the center there.
Neutral background, welcome for anything that might happen inside of it. It's not overpowering, it's not anything. It's very neutral, very welcoming, very diverse in the space that you have, but overall flexible and ready to welcome whatever you want as a community.
Randy, question? Roger? Tom?
No,
Fred?
Anticipated date of completion.
That was my question.
At the sound of, at risk of being ambitious, Avalon Bay are telling us that probably they'd like to hand it over to us September or October of next year. They're moving fast, if you noticed. And they're holding Tammy and Jude and I, our feet to the fire right now on providing specifications on a whole lot of stuff. So we can't really complain, it's moving.
And I want to thank the committee that worked on this, the professionals. Again, we're not shoehorning something into an existing space to make it what we want. And, it's hard to look ahead 20, 30 years, but we've tried to really be thorough in designing this. And again, I would love to see it used every night for some borough activity. And I guess we'll find that out from next fall on. Anything you need from us tonight, Colin?
No, Mayor, we just felt we were far enough along that we could bring everybody up to speed with where we are. And I thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, were you taking any comments from the public? Because I saw your hands raised.
Yeah, we could. Let me have a motion to open the public.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Scramble Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Dennis Traffic. Roger Vroom. Yes. Fred Weed. Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Public session is open. Address your comments, questions to myself. Yes.
Yeah,
Name and address, please.
I'm Elizabeth Gallegos. I live on 39 East Cliff Street, so I'm here for the next item. But I do AV design as my career. I've been doing it for almost a decade now. So I just had a question, because two things. It's okay, I know I just found out about this project. Is your AV designer following AVIXA standards and guidelines for viewing? Because those screens for the audience didn't look like they followed basic decision-making size. And I thought that would just make it hard for people to see, especially towards the back.
You were looking at architects'
Okay.
renderings here. We've only started with the audiovisual people. They have a long history of working with municipalities and government and providing the tools and equipment. So as we move through it, we'll probably do another session here, because some of the stuff that we're beginning to talk about, you probably know about, but we're still learning.
Yeah, that's why I was just curious about the standards, because it looks small.
Yeah, but you're speaking in shorthand I don't understand right now. Ask me in a month, and I'll
Okay,
tell
yeah,
you.
it's written down. And then the other question I had is just your opening date. We can't get equipment. I'm trying to outfit a ton of conference rooms right now, and it's a year to 18 months out. It is.
I've had that discussion,
okay.
and Avalon Bay, who were building it, are saying they want to deliver it to us.
Mm-hmm.
It does not mean that all the AV stuff will be in, but we got other concerns too. HVAC equipment is 12 to 18 months out. Fortunately, it's been ordered already.
Oh, yeah.
So we're well aware of the supply chain difficulties. Avalon Bay confident that they'll be able to deliver it to us as specified next year. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, good luck. I hope it gets better.
Oh, I need a lot of luck. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare.
Thank you.
Is this regular public comment or just on this?
Just on this. Motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Scramble Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell. Dennis Traffic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Fred Weed.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
To be continued. Okay, our next item for discussion is the East Cliff and Grove Street intersection. It's been a topic of discussion here before. We have taken many incremental steps to improve visibility, driver awareness at that intersection. We've had, I believe in the last week, Kevin, 2 more.
I'm aware of one. I'm
One?
not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's 2, yeah. With cars traveling east-west on Cliff and north-south on Grove, for reasons unknown to us, not being traffic experts, it seems like that intersection, although it doesn't appear to be anything geographic or physical unique about that intersection, we have had more than our share of accidents. Fortunately, no fatalities, but to eliminate that possibility, we need to be ahead of the curve. So we've asked a representative from the police department to come in tonight to just give us a little background on the intersection. Lieutenant, would you come in and just introduce yourself? And you can sit.
Lieutenant Anthony Tiller, Somerville Police Department.
Right. Lieutenant, what's your experience? You've been on our force how many years now?
17 roughly.
All right, and you've responded, I'm sure, to many accidents at that intersection. You just give us your professional, overview of what makes drivers on Cliff Street not stop.
So that is the intersection, to me, it's like very similar to, I'm going to compare it to like a mountain in Altamont. Normally when we have accidents there, there's generally some sort of minor injury. Sometimes you have more serious ones because it's generally somebody just not even tapping the brakes or slowing down for the stop sign. It's somebody who's just doesn't see it, whether or not they're using their phone, not paying attention, whatever it is. And it's tough because the stop sign is pretty, it lights up. The whole perimeter of the stop sign lights up. I don't know how you don't see it, but people just seem to miss it. And I don't know whether they're not making sure left and right they're clear and they're rolling through it quickly. Because if you sit and watch and monitor traffic there, a lot of people don't come to the full stop. Most of the people in this room probably don't do the textbook what we were taught in driver's ed in high school. But that's really not what's causing the accident. I don't think it's necessarily speed as our primary reason. It's just whether or not people are in their phones, not paying attention, talking. It's generally the east to west along the stop sign. We did just have some trees trimmed back around the stop sign if you're heading eastbound. Hopefully that helps it, the situation, and you can see it from a little bit further out. But that's pretty much where we're at. Normally, it's just driver inattention, and people are not paying attention. And the person coming north and south, there's very little they can do to avoid it because there's no real bailout area there. So that's where we're at. I mean, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try to help them out.
The two accidents that happened last week, you privy to discuss the accident report?
I'm not familiar with all the details of them, and I couldn't get into any of the specifics, but one of them was a provisional driver who, I'm not going to say whether or not the phone was involved or not, because I don't know, I wasn't in the car. But without knowing that much more and actually what happened, without actually being involved in that accident, you have what she told the officer or he told the officer, and it seems like there could have been the possibility that it wasn't some distracted driving involved, and the fact that it's a more inexperienced driver.
Now, Kevin, we've taken some steps here over the last few months to enhance that that point. Can you just summarize for the public?
Well, we went from obviously the stop sign is a blinking stop sign, so that's new. What we've been utilizing in many areas at a high volume, and we added the markings, enhanced the markings, and added what they call the rumble strips. That they just allow for the driver to be a little more attentive.
That's on Cliff Street.
That they're approaching, yeah.
It's on both sides of Cliff. Okay. And I know we did some tree trimming the other day.
Tree trimming just took place the other day. It doesn't appear that it wasn't a situation that was really blocking anything, but for the sake of getting out there, cleaning up any extra growth, we did that. So those are the areas that we've done. Future steps could include, we've spoken to the county. The county has, over the year, has been our go-to for traffic studies and services of that nature. They do have a staff member that's very good in traffic. However, this would be a third-party study that we've asked them to provide a scope of services for what they call a warrant study to determine if there's, if other signalization or any additional work that needs to be done there can be done in order to make it a more safer intersection.
And just a quick question, so the public's aware, we have to go through that whether we want a light or not.
Well,
Correct?
the jurisdiction of both roadways are municipal, right? So a warrant study is something that's usually done for both signalized intersections. It's usually the first step in any process.
Yeah.
The municipality, they're both municipal roadways, so we can, right? So the governing body can take whatever action it can within the law. Usually you want to know what actions would be taken. To give you an idea, a signalized intersection, there's about 5 municipalities currently out to bid on that. They run about $500,000 to $600,000. Right now, there is a significant long lead delay on supply chain. North Plainfield's doing one now. They're replacing one. The bids just came in. They were in the low 400,000s, and that's a replacement. And I'm not saying, cost-wise, but if the municipality was something looking like that, it's not something the municipality would do. It would be something that they would finance. But usually after a warrant study is conducted.
Right, and, I remember these discussions a couple of years ago. The whole reason why we did not pursue a traffic study back then, it was in the middle of the pandemic. Things were closed down, schools were closed down. We would not get an accurate view of that intersection. So that's why that was not done 2 years ago.
Correct.
And now we're back really to full steam, and it would give us a much better viewpoint. The other point I'd like to make too, when you're coming from Cliff, and if you're going across the street up the hill, I'm guilty of this at least one occasion, maybe two, I think. When you're driving, you have that light all the way at the top of the hill. And if you see, if you see a green light and you're distracted, you're thinking 10 million things, don't even have to be on your phone. Oh, it's green light, and just subconsciously you go right through the intersection. I asked the question if there's some way we can get the lights sort of dimmed, so you can see the light from the hill going up after you get through that intersection, but not at the intersection. I don't know if that's.
So you're saying if you're traveling westbound?
If you're,
Okay.
yes. Because you see that light, and just maybe it's your subconscious, it's like, and you see it turn to green 50 feet before, it's like, oh. That's just a
I
thought.
can certainly ask the traffic engineer to look at that. I mean, obviously, we don't want to be dimming lights, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I recognize-
just so, like, way back there, but, when you get across the street, I'm sure there's a way to be able to see it. I mean, if they're doing a traffic study, these folks, I imagine, can do that.
Officer, are there any other recommendations from the police department?
I believe what he's speaking about, there are little sheets of metal that are inside the light, and when they're fastened, they're on a slant. So and they're tilted down in the front. So when you're approaching from back where he's speaking of, heading west, all you see is a black inside of the light. And as you get closer, and you start to get right up underneath the light, you'll start to see that it's green or red or what have you.
Are the accidents going westbound though?
They've been both. I think that eastbound is worse, but just because when you're traveling west, you can see that stop sign from a mile away. Now, are people looking ahead at the green light? Possibly. But there has not been a ton of accidents there, but recently we have had two. And when there's accidents there, they look really bad where it is.
Well, I think I mentioned to some of you, if you have a signalized intersection at Grove and Cliff, you'd have to coordinate that with the one at Bridge, because you can't have one light turning green, the other one red, because they're gonna pick and choose. You'd have to have both lights the same. One of the things that concerns me or I'm observed is that when the momentum going east down the hill is a little bit deceptive at times. I mean, if I'm going down and I'm doing about 20 miles an hour, which I do in Somerville anyway, but you have to be careful. You have to make sure you put on the brakes to stop. Maybe we should take the rumble strips and move it a little further west, up the hill, so that the attention is a little bit quicker. Because if I'm coming down and I hear the rumble strips and I don't pay attention real quick, I could shoot through that light. So that's one thing. Let's put rumble strips a little further up.
I think right now they've started the driveway into the parking lot.
Yeah, I think we need to have them,
west.
probably, yeah, because you need rumble strips. You need something that's got boom, 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 boom. The other thing is, perhaps you also want to look at putting rumble strips on Grove Street, because it's not that it's speed, but remember one thing, if we put a light there, and somebody is coming on High and Grove, and they go through that light, the other one turns yellow, Not that I ever try to run that light, mind you, but occasionally there's a tendency to go a little faster when I see the yellow light. That may exacerbate the problem. We want to be careful about traffic lights here. You know, people aren't used to that. Grove Street is still the main intersection, so that's just my 2 cents.
And
worth.
split street the roadway that way. And officer, do we have, maybe Kevin, you might know, we have the ability to control the speed limits on local roads. Right now, they're 25.
For 25, I mean.
Is that the minimum that DOT
I
will allow?
I don't think the speed limit's the problem. Really, no, almost nobody except Dr. Brady does 20, 25. So I think people not paying attention is, we could discuss traffic lights and rumble strips, but it comes down to people not paying
Human error.
attention. You have,
Lieutenant, I do 15 in summer.
you have stop signs that light up with LED lights. If people don't see that, I don't know what they're gonna see. I mean, maybe the only thing that they will see is a red light. But there are gonna be, you're always gonna have accidents at all different intersections. It just so happens that this one seems to be a bit of a problem. But I drive through that intersection in this past week. I spent a lot of time over there because apparently it was becoming a bit of an issue. And when I pull up to that stop sign, I just say to myself, how do you miss this stop sign? It flashes red LED lights at you. So
And it's oversized. It's twice the size of a normal sign.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So I don't know that people are gonna, if they don't see that, I don't know that they're gonna see a red light. But
And I
Guess
will
we'll see.
also point out to the public that there is a crossing guard at that location during the regular hours. So although there's been an incident, of the last week, that has been a post forever, and we are going to continue to man that post during the daytime, and I don't know if there's midday hours there, but it's morning and afternoon. That is a standard post, and that will not change.
Have we looked at the sightline with respect to the parking on Grove Street?
I believe it falls within the state standard, but I don't think that's really the problem. It's,
You don't think people are crossing over because they don't see a car approaching?
they should see that red flashing sign before they see any car coming north or south. They should see that flashing stop sign. If they don't see that, what's coming north and south on Grove Street's not even matter.
So-
And it hasn't been obstructed. There's
So
no
these
big
accidents-
vans parked
These
there.
accidents are all caused by people failing to stop at the stop sign.
That's generally what the problem is. And again, it's not just that intersection. We're focused on this tonight. It's
Yeah.
not just that intersection. You go into the next town over, they have similar intersections where you have accidents.
Well, I lived close to a very similar intersection, Altamont and Mountain,
Yes.
and it seems it's probably the second worst intersection in town after the one we're talking about.
And we've treated that in the same ways too. All right, let's go around the table real quick, and then I'd like to open it for the public. Any question, comment, Dr. Brady?
No, I think you've given us a very good rundown on this, and I can't disagree with you. I think if people aren't attentive and if people aren't smart, they're gonna cause accidents.
Councilwoman?
Is a four-way stop a solution?
Twice as many accidents then.
I don't think so. I mean, I honestly don't think so. It's, again, we're making this out that it's the worst intersection in Somerville or Somerset County, which is clearly not. And I'm not saying we're blowing that out of proportion. There was 2 accidents recently, but accidents happen, obviously. And I don't think a 4-way stop is the answer. We have probably the best stop signs there currently now that we have. Going beyond that, I mean, there's discussion of a study for a traffic signal. That'll work most of the time, you would think, but people run red lights. So when we come back a year from now and there are 2 accidents because people ran red lights, where do we go then?
You that always matter too is whenever you put a signal in, it usually changes the driving patterns of people.
Sure.
So other streets without signals become a little more used.
Sure.
Because they don't necessarily want to stop at signal, so, you know, and it's correct, I mean, the signal will certainly may deal with something, but it also may,
Shift the problem.
yeah,
Well, the other
it may create
three,
some-
the other three intersections around there already have signals there. Grove and High,
At William and Grove.
Ridge and
Push it
High,
up on
Ridge
Spring.
and-
Councilman Wheat, question?
No questions, I just appreciate, you coming. Look, we gotta listen to experts on this. It can get very passionate, you know, I crossed that street going to Central School back in the day. And I remember the block up on the corner of Bridge and Cliff, before there was a traffic signal there. So, look, the easy thing to do is put up a traffic signal, but I just wanna, you know, we gotta listen to the experts here. So I have no questions.
Okay. Councilman Mitchell, anything else?
Well, that's all I can think of.
Councilman Rowe?
No, you know, to reiterate what's already been said, I mean, we have flashing stop signs. And being someone who lives on Eastern Avenue, on the corner of Eastern Avenue and High Street, which we've had a flashing stop sign there, it might as well be a, you know, pass go as quickly as you possibly can. And for those of you who have made the turn from Eastern onto High Street, the sight lines, no matter which direction you're coming from, are absolutely atrocious because of the way the street's shaped. And it doesn't stop people from doing whatever they feel like whenever they want to do it. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to attentiveness. And we can't fix, no matter what we put there, I don't think it's going to change people not paying attention. This summer, I was fortunate enough to be able to pick my kids up from the enrichment program at the middle school, and we were at the stoplight on Bridge and Cliff, stopped, and a pickup truck rolled up to the stoplight, stopped at the stoplight for 3 seconds, and then drove through the red light. I honked my horn at them, and they looked at me and shrugged their shoulders. So I don't know, that's the mentality. And I think obviously for folks that live right there, just like myself on Eastern Avenue and High Street, I hear lots of horns. I didn't realize that there are that many car horns that exist in the world today. But it's sometimes it's quite melodious in the evenings. And I just feel as though, and I'm not trying to downplay it, I think the officer said it fantastic, you know, if you're gonna miss a massive sign that's blinking at you, with rumble strips as you drive down to it, I don't, aside from having spikes that come up and flatten your tires, I'm not sure, and I'm not trying to be funny. Aside from that, I don't know what's going to stop people from looking down at their laps instead of up through a massive windshield, until maybe, I guess they do get hit by another vehicle. That's my 2 cents.
Mr. President and Commissioner, any questions? No.
Now, Your Honor, we also have Ridewise of Somerset County. Maybe they should be included in some of these discussions, and perhaps they can do something to help with distracted driving. I know they've got programs available for that.
Lopez, I would just ask if you just take our questions, comments back, back to the chief, and as well as the other 32 miles of street, just make sure we have a presence. I saw a car parked there just today, halfway up the block. So I thank you and your department for vigilance there, and maybe that's the only way to change behavior.
Once the study's conducted, we'll put back on the agenda for our conversation as well.
Speaking of studies, just before I open to the public, the letter I received from Somerset County to do a traffic study on East Main Street indicated that as long as 85% of the cars follow the speed limit as posted, they don't see a need to change the speed limit. So that means out of every 100 cars, 15 can be speeding, and that's acceptable to the county. Well, that's not acceptable to me, because that 15% is 1 out of 7 cars. And I just found that statistic incredible, but yeah, we allow 15% of the cars to speed, and that won't result in a lowering of the speed limit. So let's see what the numbers show on this. Motion to open for public on this question.
So
only.
moved.
Second?
Council members Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell. Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Fred Weed.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Questions, comments from the public for ourselves or the officer? Yes, ma'am. Name and address again, please.
Yeah, Elizabeth Gallegos. I live at 39 East Cliff Street. 3 cars have been towed from my yard in the past 2 years. I just, as a resident who lives on that corner, I have never before lived in a place where multiple cars have been literally towed out of my yard and one has literally hit my house. So I do think that, I mean, I'm a renter, thank goodness. God, I don't own that. I do think that speed is an issue, and I do support a traffic study because I'm not a traffic expert, but as somebody who lives there, drives there, has to cross the street, has almost been hit crossing the street, I do think that more consideration needs to be taken on the traffic on Grove, because it is kind of hard to see the traffic coming, and if they are speeding, and then because of the lack of parking in that area, there's like an Amazon truck or a delivery truck parked in those like no parking zones. Because I've seen so many accidents, I'm cautious, but even then I'll like be creeping out into the intersection, slam on my brakes because suddenly a car goes just zooming past. So I really hope that when you do the traffic study, it's not just about, oh, people are running stop signs. It's also, when combined with not ideal sight lines and speeding, it can be a little hard to kind of make that cross across Grove from Cliff. And I do think that speed is an issue, otherwise, how does a car get up a 2-foot hill and go over a little concrete bump, like a concrete bump? It's amazing when I show people the photos, and they're like, how did that even happen?
Thank you.
Mateo Garcia, 171 Mercer. I think to the extent possible, I'm mindful of wanting this body just to be aware of course, and you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, the school children who walk our streets. And I think in general, I've spoken before at council meetings about the influx of people that now come into Somerville, which is great, many coming for evenings or during the day for business. But I think in general as a town, perhaps maybe more public awareness or a larger campaign to emphasize the speed limit, if in fact we believe speed to be the culprit. Some are saying that it's not, we have officials saying that it isn't, residents arguing that it is. To the extent that speed is a factor, perhaps some public awareness campaign for the town of Somerville. We can't say something like all of our streets are 25, but if we can get it there, that'd be great. I think that one of the council members, Mr. Mayor, spoke, raised a good point about sightline. I would agree that perhaps, maybe people aren't stopping or they just don't see if a car's coming. I think that the resident who spoke previously raised a good point. If there's a box truck or something blocking the view temporarily, I don't know if you can see a car that's coming and to what extent lack of visibility has contributed to any of these accidents. But I also believe what the lieutenant mentioned previously, which is that accidents are going to happen everywhere, and I don't think that that's the worst street corner. I think that there are many prominent corners. A council member identified another one close to his place of residence, and I'm familiar with that intersection as well. Also, where I live, there are intersections that are similar, and this town installed rumble strips and did listen. And so, I think it's a town-wide issue that goes, and it's in line with the fact that we have many more residents, we have many more guests in town, and that is good, but we also have many more pedestrians, and I think that we should maintain a pedestrian-friendly town and emphasize, perhaps through a public campaign. We're not going to stop every accident, but we do need more awareness. I'm curious as to whether these two members or these two accidents involved people from out of town or they were in town, if that plays any role as well. Because I think that people who are residents, like a council member mentioned, we tend to drive more prudently in our own town. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Mr. McAlevey.
Mr. Mayor, Frank McAlevey, 129 Maritime. I have a suggestion that might be a simple suggestion. As we have the cones in the center of Main Street for crosswalks, can't we get a cone in the center of the street, flashing cone or whatever that says stop for coming down Cliff Street Hill or coming across? When I was in the service, we had those all over. We didn't have too many accidents. So
I would defer to the
it's a cheap
officer
suggestion,
on that.
But it's a lot cheaper than $500,000, and if it gets the point across, I suggest you try it.
Something worth researching to see, where they're allowed, what parameters we have, and how effective they really are. And I'm sure the traffic study would offer recommendations too. And back to Mr. Mateo's comment, if I can get the speed limits on the county and state roads reduced to 25, we'll have a consistent 25 town-wide, and that will lead to a very vigorous campaign. I'm still waiting to hear back from DOT and the county. So I would love to have it, you're in Somerville, it's 25 land, and that'd be a goal that I'm trying to work on. Right now, I'm just waiting for the two other entities to get back to us.
You're in support of the public, so, for that.
All right, motion to close public.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell, Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
I'm going to thank the public for their participation in both those items. We'll go on to our ordinances for public hearing and adoption. We'll take each one of them separately. The first ordinance, 2680-220906, is tabled. We introduced this at our last meeting. Normal procedures for it to go to the planning board for its consideration and modification if needed, but their last meeting was canceled. So this will go to their meeting next Wednesday, I believe, and we should be able to take action on this at our next meeting, which would be the first meeting in October. Ordinance 2681-220906, amending Chapter 166, Section 51, Schedule 10, entitled Yield Intersections, to delete leeway on the intersection of Lisa Terrace and Lee Way, and to amend Chapter 166, Section 50, Schedule 9, entitled Stop Intersections, to include leeway on the intersection of Lisa Terrace and Lee Way. Motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Public hearing. Hearing no comment. Motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady, Tom Mitchell, Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second. Basically, we're replacing a yield sign with a stop sign.
It's already there.
Government at its best. Roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
I have a question, Councilman Brady, to forget about the yield sign. It's been there all these years. It's now a stop sign.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will take that under advice, and I'm glad the lieutenant.
They have your plate number. All right, 2682-22-0906, amending ordinance 2674-22-0516, establishing a salary range for employee titles to be paid to certain officers and employees of the Borough of Somerville. Motion for public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Public comment. Hearing none, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
I do want to make a note that
Yeah.
we did make a change on this after it was handed out. The minimum range is $32,000 for full-time employee and $15 an hour for any hourly employee.
So noted.
Is
motion?
I'm sorry,
Oh, sorry.
32,000?
32,000, that'd be a little bit above $15 an hour, so we're ahead of the curve.
That's the high end.
I move, I make the motion.
Okay.
Is that the only change made to the
Yeah.
salary ranges?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
We have a motion for adoption. Need a second?
Second.
All right, roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
All
Yes.
right, ordinance 2683-22-0906, approving and authorizing an amended and restated financial agreement by and between the Borough of Somerville and 50 Kirby Avenue Urban Renewal LLC for property located at 50 Kirby Avenue, Lot 401 and Block 1, showing an official tax map, Kirby Avenue redevelopment area. Motion for public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Public comment? Hearing none, motion to
Can we have
close.
an explanation of what?
Wait, we're still in public.
No, we're still in public.
Let's close the public and then we'll.
I move to close the public.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Fred Weed.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Now motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Tom, you had a question?
Yeah, yes, we're restating, changing a financial agreement, I think, I would have hoped before the public was asked to comment, we'd find out what the changes are, what this is gonna cost or save the borough. And,
Well, we're amending the schedule of the pilot. So the net over the 25 years is very small, if I remember correctly. The total amount, we're getting a little bit less in the first 10 years, and then we'll pick up some at the end of it. And compared to the amount that we're currently collecting on the land, it's, I don't know, 100-fold, I would think.
Yeah, we currently, well, if you look at just the borough share of current taxes, it's about $38,000 a year, and we're going to over $400,000 a year. Over the life of the 25 years of the pilot, on the approved pilot, which hasn't kicked in yet, because nothing is being built, it's an average of $18,000 a year less than what we would have got with the approved pilot. So it's minimal change.
Section 5 and section 6 of the ordinance reflects the difference. What percentage?
Any other comment? Roll call.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yes, Vanessa.
Yeah, so from my understanding on this, because I've been quite vocal about it behind the scenes, this ordinance, and correct me if I'm wrong, this ordinance came along because building costs have gone up due to inflation, and there was a lot of remedial work that needed to be done there, correct?
No.
Not the building cost, it was the remediation.
Remediation costs, okay.
Cleanup.
We found the soil to be
costs.
contaminated.
Yeah.
Okay, so, with that said, with all due respect, there's lawyers in the room, I might pronounce it incorrectly, caveat emptor, buyer beware. So what we're doing here is, we would be getting about $18,000 less than the initial agreement, pilot agreement we had with the developers.
Well, you know,
Per
if we
year.
didn't
Per
pass
year.
it, if we didn't pass it, you get about.
Yeah, per year.
Let Fred finish his thought.
Look at it this way, Fred, if we didn't pass it,
I
we get
got the
about
floor.
$400,000
Dr.
less.
Brady, please.
So-
That's all right.
So we'd be getting $18,000 less than the initial agreement. I have massive issues with this. A developer complaining about inflation. We're not doing anything for the residents of Somerville about inflation. Grocery costs have gone way up. And yet the developer is, we're giving a break to them and not the residents. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other comment?
Well, I agree with Fred about giving in to developers. I also see the other side of it where what Dr. Brady's talking about is that we lose the opportunity to have the area built out and completed. So I think we have to balance the bad with the good and go in favor of this amendment.
yes, and I'd like to point out that this is not about general inflation and about the cost of groceries, which I agree is exorbitant, but it's about the cost of environmental cleanup that there was no way could be foreseen that this was going to be needed, because this was previously a book warehouse, and we would not anticipate this PCB, is that the name of the chemical? Being found in a book warehouse. It turns out that when the land was filled in before the book warehouse was built, the filter was already contaminated. So this is paying for environmental cleanup, not for inflation compensation.
whatever the case may be, if I bought land as just by myself and I found all that stuff, I'd be on the hook and would not get any support. That's all I gotta say.
Mr. Brew, any comment? No. Mr. President? Okay. And with all due respect, Councilman, you said we're not doing anything for the residents of Somerville.
I did not say that.
No, you inferred that, and we're collecting $40,000 a year now for the borough budget. With the proposed fit out of that property, we have a clean piece of land that provides housing for families, and we're going to be getting 10 times the amount of revenue. Our pilots have been very successful in helping us balance our budgets, and the minimal tax increase for this current fiscal year is due in no small part to that pilot money. I've lived with a vacant Baker & Taylor for 15 years, and this will finally make that project happen. And if I could vote, I would vote yes. All right, we have a motion and a second. Kevin, you want to do the roll call?
Council members, Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
No.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Our next ordinance, 2684, 22-0906, amending bond ordinance number 2670, adopted by the Borough Council, Borough of Somerville on April 4th, 2022. Motion for public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Council members, Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Public comment. Hearing none, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Council members, Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic, Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Okay, motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Comment?
Yes.
Yes, Tom?
Yes.
Oh, wait, we're gonna vote now. Roll call.
Okay. Council members, Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
What are we voting on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Amending the
Your,
bond ordinance. Oh,
2684.
We're voting to pass the ordinance before we even get to comment on it?
no.
He had a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, let's go back then. Tom, you had a comment on this ordinance?
Yeah, yes, and the general comment as well. On the ordinance, if we could get an explanation of the changes to this bond ordinance, is this gonna cost us more or less? How is this going to affect the taxpayers of Somerville? Do you have that information?
I do. Yeah, I didn't know if you were done. The Eastern States Parkway, that was a project that was, we had accepted a donation, I should say, accepted a payment from New Jersey American Water. They had to dig up the roadway, and the borough was, we could have forced New Jersey American Water to resurface it, with the substructure of that particular project was really bad. So last year we took, maybe early this year, we took the Borough Council accepted a payment, knowing that we would have to do that project in full and fund the remaining portion of that. So that's what this changes. It is also the change that a project, Brookside Avenue, Orchard, Riviera, and Central, those are projects, some of it's actually approved with a grant, and that's the municipal portion of it. So the answer is yes, it will cost more money for the borough to take action on this. However, it'll accomplish the resurfacing, the reconstruction of Eastern States Parkway, Brookside Avenue, Orchard Street, Riviera, and Central Avenue.
Thank you for the explanation.
Sure.
Just a general comment, I think it would be far more effective if we could have these descriptions of the effects of these ordinances before we ask the public comment, because how do they know, they're being asked to comment on something without being told what it is?
What we can do is, if you want, I mean, the ordinance actually does say in the improvements what it's for, but it is written by bond counsel, so I certainly understand that sometimes it's not easily readable. So if you'd like, I could certainly, in bond ordinances, to create a synopsis that's available.
I think in general, just maybe some,
Detail.
Summary.
detail, just before we open it to the public might be a wise decision,
So noted.
in general.
All right, roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Fred Weed.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Public Sessions, motion?
So moved.
Second?
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Fred Weed.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Public session's open. Name and address for the record and address your comments to myself. Mr. Garces.
Would you like me to sit or stand or?
You can stand and you project very well, so you don't need to use the mic.
Sure, no problem. Mateo Garcia, 171 Mercer.
Sorry, Mateo. When they're not up, the camera doesn't catch.
Oh, okay, well,
So
come-
it's like a.
Right.
Sorry,
An
Mateo.
No, that's fine.
An omniscient voice, just in the back, you don't know who's speaking. Mateo Garcia, 171 Mercer. I'd like to comment tonight, particularly about some of the concerns that I have, and that actually came up today in the meeting, about some of these pilot programs. I see, Mr. Mayor, some division amongst the council, and I wouldn't call it division, I'd call it prudence. It seems like we're rushing through a lot of these things. We have a council member who's very prudent and asking for some description so the public is made aware of what some of these sweetheart deals are that we're giving to some of these developers. I'd also like to voice my support for the council member who gave pause to the ordinance wherein a developer seeming to get some type of discount or being offered a discount for some purpose, I don't even know, but it just seems like they're getting less money or being charged less. But why I'm concerned about these pilot programs, I think it says it in the title, payments in lieu of taxes. I don't think a developer would go into a deal where they pay more money. I don't think that in these pilot programs they're going to be paying the same amount of money as they would as property taxes. I imagine that they're paying less. And how I'm connecting this to my concern is that I worry about the future funding of this town. As we get more residents, our schools are going to need more resources. And we're going to have more kids in the schools, and I do worry about how some of this is going to be funded. I see that you, Mr. Mayor, support the selling of our water system. I don't know the pros and cons about it, other than that the company that wants to purchase it is saying in advertising that you support it and that the town could get money for it. I also just don't want us to be making these deals with developers and then trying to find money elsewhere to plug in for any deficit that we may have. And I am concerned about the future funding of these pilot programs, the way that the town council rushes through it in this body. We had a council member advocating for some public knowledge about what's happening so that the public could comment. That was not given, and so an ordinance was approved without the public really knowing about it. And some of these things are hard to understand. Even you yourself, Mr. Mayor, noted that one of these ordinances says we're going to change a yield sign to a stop sign, and it's in legalese. Members of the public are not going to understand that. But I also hope that this governing body, Mr. Mayor, is aware of a lot of these things. And on the topic of the developers, I'd like to reiterate a topic that I mentioned previously, which is the issue of affordable housing. I've been coming to many of these meetings, and I've seen more airtime given to the color of carpeting and the amount of concrete being poured in lieu of Kevlar for the safety of the town's leaders versus what can be done to ameliorate the high rent prices that residents in this town face. The new Civic Center that'll open up a year from now is going to be located in an apartment building where a one-bedroom apartment is $2,440. The median income for one person in Somerville, according to the most recent census data, is $41,000. A person that lives in an apartment next to the Civic Center would have to pay 71% of their income on rent if they wanted to afford living in Somerville. That's a lot. And so again, I come up to this body and I say, please take the issue of high rent seriously. We seem to give all of these sweetheart deals to developers, payments in lieu of taxes. They're not paying taxes. It's some other deal, some other arrangement. Prices go up for them, they get a cut. Prices go up for the average resident, rents go up for the average resident, there's no relief. More has been spoken seriously about the decor of the Civic Center than affordable housing. I haven't seen a presenter yet, at least at the meetings that I've attended, and I've attended these since February. So I'm putting more pressure on this body to please do something. It is election season, there are 2 council members up for election. And I ask members of this town to press them on that issue. More people in Somerville are renters than homeowners. Renters need some type of relief. I yield my time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Fred Weed.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right, we have our consent resolutions. I would like to pull 299. Council?
293 and 298, please.
Okay. 290, urging the New Jersey Legislature to draft and adopt legislation to require mandated periodic inspections of public and private parking structures. 291, approving the hiring of Mary Ann Ray as registrar. 292, awarding a contract to Motivated Security Services, Inc. for crossing guard services for September 22 through June 24. 294, approving Chapter 159 for the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the public entity grant program application for remediation of certain sections of the Somerville landfill. 295, approving tax overpayment refunds. 296, appointing Ron Tchaikovsky to the Historic Advisory Committee. 297, authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract to T&M Associates for survey, engineering, design, and contract administration and inspection services for improvements at the Michael Leck Park Pool. 300, approving Chapter 159 from the Department of Environmental Protection for the 2022 Stewardship Grant for reforestation and tree planting. 301, approving the hiring of Jeremy Susser as full-time fire maintenance assistant effective October 3rd, 2022. And 302, authorizing execution for a right of entry agreement for public service, electric and gas at Schumbers Park, Lot 301, Lot 1. Motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second?
Council members Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Fred Weed.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right. 293, supporting and consenting to Phase 2 of the development of a mixed-use project by Somerset Station Urban Renewal LLC, a property known as Block 123, Lot 2.03 in the landfill redevelopment area. Motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second. Comment.
Yes, so, Mr. Garcia sort of took some words right out of my mouth on this one. So great minds must think alike. So I have a few comments on this one. I took a look at the reason why this apparently is necessary is this is just letting MJ Transit know that we're moving forward on this development, correct?
We're moving forward on what we previously agreed to do.
Okay, so that's why this was necessary. However, I took a look at the original agreement, which I believe was passed before I was ever on council. Very interesting point is section 2.10 of this agreement regarding affordable housing. I'm going to read what it says. The parties recognize that the project may give rise to an affordable housing obligation as provided under the New Jersey Construction NJ Fair Housing Act. Some legal mumbo jumbo. However, the borough believes, based on its own and the outside experts' analysis of housing in the borough, that the borough has provided and continues to provide its fair share of affordable housing to borough residents. As a result, this project shall not be required to include affordable housing, and the redeveloper shall have no obligation to incorporate any affordable housing units into the project, develop or pay for affordable housing off-site within the borough, otherwise be responsible for any monetary contributions or payments relating to affordable housing for the project. I wanted that to be read publicly, because that this agreement was, I don't know, about 75 pages.
And it's like 7 years old?
I think 2014, maybe it was amended in 2018. So the big thing here, and the big issue I have, is, we could call it affordable housing. You know, that's sort of one section. You got workforce housing, which is sort of, you know, not court mandated or legal affordable housing, but housing that blue collar workers can afford. I'd just like to read some numbers here. Let's, we had a previous ordinance regarding, we want to make sure it was updated for the minimum wage. So currently the minimum wage is $13 an hour. Let's take a single person making $13 an hour minimum wage and make that into a yearly salary. Now, I was always told growing up, you only want to spend about a third of your income on rent or housing costs, you know, mortgages. So let's take the person who makes minimum wage. If that's a third of the rent should be about $750 a month. I know of no apartment that has that. So now let's say single person maybe has no kids, not a lot of expenses, maybe a younger person. Let's say they spend half their salary on rent. Little high, but let's just take for example that. This is the minimum wage worker currently making $13 an hour. If they spent half their income on rent, it'd be $1,126. Those are far and few between, if there's any. My colleagues know I get very hot about this issue. Rent has skyrocketed, and you know there is in the governor's plan a $400 rebate for renters, which is good, but sometimes some rent, that may be 2 months worth of increases right there. I keep hearing that these complexes, and this complex in particular, I'm going to try and stay on point, is market value. For what? Market value for what? When someone's making minimum wage, when someone's a blue collar worker, maybe makes $35,000, $40,000 a year. How can they afford that? What market value? What does market value mean to them? You know, I know of very few, maybe no affordable housing components in the town at all. And now we will be moving forward with this development with, again, no affordable housing. No, and you can say maybe no affordable housing, but no workforce housing, no housing that's more affordable for people who make a lower wage. I feel we're continuing to ignore that, and I cannot support this. I cannot support any development that continues to do this. This is just not sustainable for those who struggle to make ends meet, especially, as I mentioned earlier, with inflation costs. You know, well, and the bottom line is, what are we telling them? What are we telling someone who would like to live in this town that makes minimum wage, who makes a lower salary with these developments? We're telling you you can't afford to live in this town. Thank you.
I'll continue. Any comment, question?
Yeah, no.
Dr. Reed.
I think I'm a little old-fashioned, and I'm probably a dinosaur. But I happen to have an old-fashioned value that I believe that we should honor our commitments and our contracts. We have a young man here who may be the youngest man on the council, and I'm pleased that he's coming up. And he will have an opportunity to do many, many things in the future. But the redevelopment committee, of which I chaired for some time, with many other people who live in Somerville, believe that the commitment to the train station project, which was given to us by the government, that's one of those transit villages, was an important consideration for the town of Somerville. It's helping people who live in houses such as mine to afford the taxes here. Because again, I am a semi-retired senior citizen, and I also have concerns about costs. maybe not the same as Mr. Lee. But I'm concerned about our commitment to a contract. I believe that once we developed a contract with these people, we should honor it. Old-fashioned, I'm sorry. I believe, however, that if we should not honor it, the developer or whoever it is, and by the way, for the gentleman out there, it takes a long time to correct pilots. This is done at the spur of the moment. We will probably face consequences that we really don't want to see. So I understand your position in terms of your altruism, but I condemn your position in terms of a government member of the governing body who should be looking out for honoring the contracts that we have already established. We should probably do that for future developments. But this one is in the bag, guys.
Any other comment? Roll call, Kevin.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
No?
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Next one. 298, Food and Girls on the Run Race for November 20, 2022, starting at 11 o'clock on the corner of High Street and Bridge. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Someone had a comment?
Yeah, just a quick question. I pull this resolution every time it's on. I just have to ask the question. Kevin, are residents who are on this route going to be notified of street closures?
So I spoke to, in reference to your concern this morning, I spoke to the race organizer, and they have in the past hired Middle Earth. They're gonna follow up with Middle Earth to make sure that everybody on the route is notified. The last couple races they had, I don't recall any complaints, but that they may occur. But they're highly aware of your I guess your aggressive stance on making sure that everybody's notified.
Yeah, and just so the public is aware, it's not, trust me, I'm not, first of all, you see me at 6 in the morning, I'm running 5 miles already. I'm not against running, I'm not against this race, because it is fantastic, the project it is for Girls on the Run and the money it raises for this private organization. Just for a few years in a row, there were residents complaining about it, so I just make sure that we we make sure we're doing it right for this great cause. Thank you.
Yeah, and in general, when we get
Just have to grow.
when we get an application like this, I know we have written in the agreement that they must notify the residents. But we
Correct.
have to enforce it.
Correct.
They have to put a bond up to make sure it's done.
Now,
I don't want to do that, but I don't want residents blindsided, like, I didn't get noticed. And I know that has happened.
That particular race route has that trouble. The other races and the other routes don't have that difficulty. Unfortunately, this does go through an area that, does get a little, the roads run around into each other, so it does get, you can definitely get blocked in there. So, I mean, obviously, the Girls on the Run is an important agency that we have, and I'll certainly convey your continued concern.
Yeah, they're welcome here, but they have to understand that people live here too, and that's, it's a Sunday morning, I believe, right? So it can create conflicts. All right, roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
All right, resolution 299, accepting the retirement and resignation of Marcy Tyson, effective October 1, 2022, end of business day September 30, 2022, and authorizing final payment for time accumulated. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Just want to comment that Ms. Tyson has worked for the borough for over 25 years. The Registrar's office handles a lot of important paperwork, and many times it's a happy occasion. It's a birth certificate, it's a marriage license, but I've also seen her dealing with people who are picking up death certificates as well. And she's very professional but very caring at the same time, and I just wish her well in her retirement, and I know she will be missed. We have our deputy registrar is moving up to that position effective the action we took earlier in the meeting. So that office will continue to run smoothly, and I appreciate the efforts of both the women there. And when you see Ms. Tyson tomorrow, again, give her our collective thanks. for a job well done and a retirement well earned.
Thank you. She's been a great asset so far.
All right, roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Bills and vouchers.
All right. So that was my first here. I move to pay in the amount of $782,838.58 in bills and vouchers.
I second that.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Fred Weed,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. And before I call for adjournment, I'd like to thank the council for their hard work tonight. We had a lot of issues, we had a lot of discussion. Just a reminder, folks, when you get your agenda, if there's something that you're not clear about, a lot of the summaries, do tend to be government speak in some cases. And although we're experienced, we're not really trained from day one, in this. So if you have a question on a specific resolution or ordinance, reach out to our professional staff. They're there to help you. I certainly welcome questions at the table, but if there's something specific that you need a little bit more information on, just reach out to Kevin's office, in the days before the meeting or the day of as well. I just want you to be well informed, to be comfortable, and not feel like you're being rushed to run a vote. With that, Mr. Mitchell.
And let me just add to what the mayor said. These agendas are available on the Borough webpage. I might prefer if they were a little easier to get to. You have to click a link and then click another link and then drop down a menu, but you can find these.
It's also an e-connect.
I was gonna say it's an e-connect as well.
Yeah, and if you haven't signed up for that too.
Yeah, okay, yes. eConnect is another good resource. Okay, I move for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
See you in 2 weeks.